And welcome back. I hope you were able to grab a coffee, some water, and you reach the bathroom, because the next 1.5 hours you will be here with us. I'm guaranteed, because the program is very dense and we have excellent speakers, so you won't be bored at all. Let me introduce first session 2. Session 2 is about establishing a regulatory framework that may enable an appropriate wastewater management in rural areas. And if you look at the sector in general, what we see is that despite the huge investments and progress have been made in the wastewater sector, there is still a room for improvement. For instance, what Elena Tuhiu emphasized. And wastewater management is remained a challenge in many countries. And for me, it was a surprisingly high number of people, over 20 million, who don't have access to appropriate sanitation services. Is still a real issue. And if we look at the infrastructure, when it comes to the infrastructure development, we see an unbalanced situation. Investment priorities are usually set to mid-size and large agglomerations to comply mainly with the urban wastewater treatment directive requirements. Whereas the construction projects and the service provision are often lagging behind in small agglomerations and rural communities below 2,000 population equivalent, simply being overshadowed by the large agglomeration activities. Moreover, these small agglomerations face lack of management and technical capacity many times, and also affordability issues are very important factors that may further hinder measure implementation in terms of the conventional sanitation facilities. So here, maybe other options like the decentralized systems and also nature-based solutions may offer an alternative to be considered by these countries. Another interesting aspect, which was mentioned by previous speakers, also Michael Sponar, the individual and other appropriate systems, the IAS systems, which are considered to be exceptions if constructing wastewater collection system is not feasible or beneficial. However, it remains somehow ambiguous and unclear how the provision of the IAS becomes justified at the EU level and what kind of technical options are suitable for that. Besides the technological issues, also in many countries, an appropriate legal, administrative, and regulatory framework for service provision at small agglomeration is still missing. Also, the case of the IAS, the proper regulation is missing in many countries. So I'm quite happy that this session will look at the national policy-making aspects of wastewater management in small agglomerations and individual treatment systems, including legislative background, maybe financial possibilities, and also regulatory challenges. We have 3 high-level government representatives from Austria, from Hungary, and from Romania. We very much appreciate your contribution and that you joined this event. And with the sequence, we will follow a clear upstream, downstream direction. We will start with Austria, then Hungary, and Romania. So the first presenter, I have the pleasure to announce Heide Müller-Rechberger, who is Head of Department and Directorate General 1 Water Management at the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Regions and Tourism, quite a complicated name of the ministry. I think a month ago, I think, or even 2 months ago, I was in the same session with Heide in a workshop organized by the EU on the revision of the Urban Waste Treatment Directive, and she provided a very clear and informative presentation. So I'm quite sure that this time she will just have the same quality. For Heide, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Can you see my presentation and can you hear me? Very well. Thank you for the introduction, Adam. So I'll give my best today. So I'm going to talk in 10 minutes about the Austrian experience in rural wastewater management. And I have added domestic to the title because we have not discussed yet what rural wastewater is at all. Typical settings in Austria are that we have small agglomerations, smaller than 2,000 PE, because over 2000 PE, we have the Urban Wastewater Directive. So this is what I chose as upper limit, these 2000. Then we have scattered dwellings. In Austria, we also have single objects in extremely exposed locations. Then we have issues with ships that I will only touch slightly today, and other settings such as individual appropriate systems in larger agglomerations. We can discuss whether we still want to look at these as rural systems, but these are small wastewater treatment systems within agglomerations that have a sewer system. We have already heard in the first session some words about European legal framework with respect to rural wastewater treatment. I just want to mention the Water Framework Directive, the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive, the Nitrates Directive, but also some standards that the first one has been mentioned by Günther already, a harmonized European standard on small wastewater treatment plants, 12-566-3, with type testing. And for ships, there are also standards in place with type testing. Type testing can be very convenient when dealing with a huge number of plants. But in the case of these two standards, in Austria, we also have troubles with them because of coherence issues, as both standards require type testing with levels, treatment levels that are much below what we ask for in Austria. So now let's switch to Austria. And I want to give you a very short introduction on how we deal with rural wastewater treatment. So state of the art is to either connect to a public sewer system with subsequent wastewater treatment, or to have biological wastewater treatment plant on site, individual plants, or to have watertight septic tanks with transport of the containments and treatment in a central wastewater treatment plant. In Austria, we do permitting also of small wastewater treatment plants. Watertight septic tanks are within construction permits. But permitting for any type of wastewater treatment plant with discharge is required. Then, as Günther has mentioned, in permits, we ask for maintenance and self-monitoring. And in order to do that, either the owner or operator has to do a training on the job, or also we use service contracts where external persons service small wastewater treatment plants. For wastewater treatment plants, also external monitoring is required by laboratories, consultants, or wastewater treatment plant operators that are mandated by the owner of the small wastewater treatment plant. And authorities are to control the results of external monitoring. I now want to have you a look at the graph on the left, starting again with small agglomerations. We have a national ordinance in place that requires nitrification for small agglomerations and also phosphorus removal if we have more than 500 PE. We also have a national ordinance in place for discharges into surface waters for exposed location. However, we failed to have a national ordinance in place for scattered dwellings. Currently, for wastewater treatment plants in this setting, we also have permits. We also have nitrification required, but this is not done on a national emission ordinance, but on individual experts' judgment by the authorities. Why did we fail? We failed because there were two ordinances written by my predecessor. One was giving ELVs for small wastewater treatment plants. The other one was to have type testing set up. But we failed because any national ordinance means that within a given time, all wastewater treatment plants have to comply with this ordinance. And as you will soon see, we talk about a big number, a huge number of plants that have to be that have to correspond to the state of art. And this is why no political consensus came about. I just talked already about numbers. So in this circle, in the inner circle, you have the number of plants by plant size. And in the outer circle, you have the treatment capacity. So if we look at small plants below 2000 PE, we have about 30,000 of them. And this is the plants that already have water permits. There are more with old building permits that we even don't know the numbers exactly, but we have just estimates. Compared to the number of wastewater treatment plants altogether in Austria, this is 98% of all the wastewater treatment plants have sizes below 2000 PE. But they only treat 3% of the pollution, or let's say they only have 3% of the overall treatment capacity. Still, as we see today, there's justification to also discuss about this problem in rural areas and find solutions for it. Investment-wise, we also see that to have a huge number of smaller plants is certainly more costly than to have a little number of big plants. That is more than natural, but in rural areas, that may be the only solution. So if we look at investment costs, 98% of the wastewater treatment plants are small ones. They have 3% of the treatment capacity, but they come up to 20% of the investment costs in wastewater treatment in Austria. As I only have 10 minutes, I'm already coming to the conclusions, not for Austria, but I just want to give some thoughts on what anyone setting up plans how to deal with rural management, wastewater management should consider. So I think a manageable number of wastewater treatment plants or other wastewater treatment systems is something that you should bear in mind. A key role with this respect is the land use planning, which in Austria is not very good because we use a lot of land, and the land use is often not really well thought, not well planned, but just where a farmer sells a field, someone will build a house. So we should, however, strive for a centralized development. Even in rural areas, we should have defined villages and defined farm areas. Also in rural areas, we should favor centralized or common solutions. A common solution could be two scattered dwellings having a plant together. On this graph below, you see all the blue dots are small wastewater treatment plants with less than 50 PE. Then when it comes to constructing small wastewater treatment plants, there has to be a plan on how to finance it. In Austria, there are subsidies available. Then there has to be taken a decision on whether to have a permitting system like in Austria, or a notification or registration system, or whatever. In any case, I would recommend to have some sort of system in order to know how many plants there are in place and where they are. Then some sort of control that the chosen treatment system is adequate. This could be done by type testing or individual expert judgment. And digitization. In Austria, a lot of plants still have building permits, others have wastewater permits. Permits are nice and they are collected somewhere, but not all of them are yet digitized. So in order to have an overview quickly, it is good to have the basic information digitized. Then when it comes to operation and maintenance, education or training of individuals that operate such plants, or you could go for private companies that service small wastewater treatment plants, or public service providers. And finally, the aspect of supervision and control. There has to be taken a decision on whether self-monitoring or external monitoring, or the two of them, are required on how to assure quality in monitoring, and to decide who will judge whether the treatment requirements are met. With these thoughts and all these really big questions, I want to thank you for the attention.
Thank you very much, Heide. As expected, very clear and very informative presentation. I very much like your graphs or these figures. Even I could understand the different situation in Austria, so thank you very much for that. But also I appreciate the last part of the final part of your presentation, when your different aspects you showed and what kind of recommendations you can convey from the Austrian experience to other countries, how to deal with it from the regulatory, financial, monitoring perspective. So this was a really useful intro intro presentation at this session. Thank you very much for your contribution. I want to ask the participants from now to pose questions to the panelists. Similar to the session one, they will start answering in a written way, but if we have still open questions at the end, we can have an oral Q&A. But Heide will be ready now to answer any questions. And please feel free to ask her, because this is now the possibility to have opinion and have exchange with Austria, Hungary, and Romania. And this leads me to the next presenter, who is Gabriela Kempes-Murányi from Hungary. She's head of department at the Directorate of River Basin Management at the Ministry of Interior in Hungary. And she closely works, if I'm right, with Peter Kovács together, who is a former president of the ICPDR, and is already a guarantee for the good quality, because Peter only works with excellent people together. So I'm quite sure that the presentation of Gabriela will be just as perfect as Heide's presentation was in the last 10 minutes. So Gabriela, we look forward to learn, especially for me being a Hungarian, how the small agglomerations are regulated in Hungary. Gabriela, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Kovács, for your kind introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. I try to go into the full screen mode. I hope it will work. My presentation, if not succeed. Do you see? Okay.
We see it, but it's still not in the presentation mode, I guess. It's just the slides. You get to just start the slideshow.
I shared my screen, and I see my presentation.
We also see it, but in only the slides.
Yes.
And the upper menu there is this diavetítés, the slideshow. You can go up.
Okay. I don't know why it doesn't work.
Yeah, there. Just to diavetítés and the upper menu. Yeah, no, there?
F5, not?
F5, yeah, F5.
Yes. No, okay. Okay, thank you for helping me.
Sure.
At first, I would like to say some words about the Hungarian wastewater situation and some words about the big Hungarian wastewater program, so settlements above 2,000 population equivalent. And later on, I will start with the figures under the 2,000 population equivalent, how we with the technical solution come up with. And I will make some words about the legal regulation situation in Hungary and the authority structure. And in the end, about the main future plans, I will say some words. So here is the map of Hungary in the upper corner on the right side. Hungary has nearly 10 million people, and the area is smaller than 100 square kilometers. Hungary joined the European Union on the 1st of May in 2004. After that time, we used the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive as a compass, can I say. In the accession treaty, we have got exemption deadlines. So we should end up with our task on the 31st of December in 2008, in 2010, and in the end in 2015. Honestly to say, there are some remaining jobs for us, but we are nearly completed with our job in this field. We created a national wastewater implementation program, and it was revised 6 times in the earlier year. We made all of the continuous reporting exercises for the DG Environment, the latest one last year in the summer. As a member state, we understand our duty, so we should care all the settlements above 2,000 population equivalent, and it is a country responsibility what is going on with the settlements under 2,000 population equivalent. Here you can see the so-called big program. The green areas, the dark green areas are the big agglomerations, and even then the lighter ones are the smaller. The red areas are the sensitive areas above 10,000 population equivalent, but Hungary uses not only this sensitive designation, but from the directive, the Article 5.4 we use, so we have an overall nitrogen and phosphor removal rate, and in the last year it was more than 80% also for nitrogen and also for phosphor. The length of collecting system is a very nice graph. I would say that after our joining the European Union in 2004, there were more than 120% higher, longer wastewater collecting system upgraded. It is thanking to the European Cohesion Fund and the European regional funds. The total load was in Hungary more than 12 million population equivalent in 2018. We have an overall access to wastewater collecting system at 82.6%. The white areas in this map show all the territories where we have no wastewater solutions. These agglomerations are below the 2000 population equivalent limit value, it can be done later on. The next picture or slide is very similar what Heide earlier showed for us. We haven't agreed with our pictures, but in the bottom in the table you can see the Hungarian special structure. We have also a very high numbering of small settlements, more than 2,000, and although they have more than 76% of the total number of settlements, the population living there is only 17%. The same figure are shown with the different categories on the upper columns. And what important is for the next part of my presentation is this number of small settlements, 2,419, because the structure of these settlements is shown in this slide. Very interesting that in Hungary is very highly preferred wastewater collecting systems, not the classical individual solutions. So as nearly the half of these settlements are even connected to a big wastewater treatment plant about 2,000 PA, or they are under construction. Nearly 1 million people in the first row. The second row is where also existing the wastewater collecting system, but the wastewater treatment plant itself is under 2,000 population equivalent. Some systems were developed in the frame of rural development OP. In both financing periods were given these tenders. Some of these projects were aimed for AIS and some for nature-based solutions. And the last two rows are the future. More than 200 settlements made their plans also, and they are waiting for the financing of their wastewater collecting system project. So they decided the technical solution and they wait for the new financing period. And where there is no decision what will be done, these 665 settlements are remaining for us, and later on I will focus on the problems with them, but at this point I can mention that they need help. So the technical knowledge in these small settlements is not enough high to decide the right technical solution. What technical solutions are used in Hungary? It is on my next slide. The most preferred solution is a sewer network or wastewater collection network, and they join a local or a regional regional wastewater treatment plant. That's the mostly used solution. In Hungary, we have in a nearly high number of closed tanks, so-called cesspools, where no treatment is given on the site, but a transportation should be for the wastewater to a wastewater treatment plant given. It has in Hungary, because of environmental and failing wastewater canalization project used. In the next future, they will be not anymore used on any place. And last but not least, the local and decentralized solutions are used in Hungary, mainly the septic tank, that's overall the solution. We have in a increasing number of biological treatment units, and we have a very small number of green ideas, artificial filter plants, lakes, and so on. So this one of solution is not very preferred in Hungary. It has partly climatic problems in winter, so it's not a popular solution. Some words about the legal regulation and the connection between the technical and legal questions. Mainly we have government decrees and ministerial decrees for the decision and for the operation of the small solutions. There is a technical overall regulation, how to monitor the small equipments, and about the decision, what will be the best technical solution on a municipal level, there should be incorporated in a municipal wastewater plan. This one should be made by the settlement. Very crucial question is how to create an agglomeration and how we can get data about the country. This has an outstanding government decree. Some words about the conditions, how to create an agglomeration. We have two main decision points. One is the retention time. It should be not more than 7.8 hours be. And the other type is the population density in a form that we limit at least 120 people should be connected to 1 kilometer length of sewer, or 50 dwellings should be connected to 1 kilometer. Very important is in the regulation the effluent standards for wastewater treatment plants and surface water receivers. In the first part of this conference, we saw a picture about the effluent standards in Hungary too. For the small treatment plants, there are also prescriptions, and it is a very clear picture in this field. If the outcoming water goes to a surface water. We have a regulation for the soil receiver. When an infiltration is forecasted, then there are soil prescription, and effluent standards are also existing in Hungary for individual solutions in a ministerial decree. It was based on a German-Hungarian ministerial common work earlier. Interesting could be for the future that we have a compulsory public service for not connected dwellings. Where these closed tanks or cesspools are used, then the settlements should organize a public service. We use the European norms, namely this 12,566, the one and the third part of it, the septic, for the septic tanks and for the biological treatment unit. From the standpoint of the Hungarian government, I would mention a further relevant decision. It is the Kvassai Jenő plan as a water strategy for Hungary, approved in 2017, and it is a big milestone for us. It was the decision given that after completing the urban wastewater directives prescriptions, we should focus on the small settlements. In this slide, I will give you a short overview about the authorities structure. We have a water authority in disaster management authorities. It is organized on country level. We have environmental and soil protection authorities. They are sitting in the governmental offices. They are also on country level. Very important role has the settlement in the system. Even the assembly and even the notary, when the yearly effluent amount is under 500 cubic meter per year, then the settlement has special rights as he would be the water authority. It is laid down in the legal regulation, and only if the effluent goes into a surface water, or we are above this 500 cubic meter amount, then comes into the picture the water authority. We created a database. It is on settlement level. Now we start to get geographical, geoinformatical data from the individual solutions. We understand from the consultations with the European Union DG ENVI Environment that we should know more about these small solutions, and that's why we created this database. It is operating for more than 4 years also. And I summarized the main questions, what should be cleared when somebody, even a settlement or an individual person, start planning or creating a new small system. First, we should know the receiver. That's very important. Then we should analyze the sensitive area, the karst area, or drinking water base, if it is affected with these ones. We should know very good soil conditions because of the infiltration. We should orient us about the groundwater level. In Hungary, it is a very special problem. There are regions where this very high groundwater level gives no possibility or causes no possibility for infiltration, and in these cases we should find other effluent if it is given in the area. Important, so this yearly amount, because of to define the authority who will be in charge, and it should be cleared it would be a unique project or based on a settlement level. It is important for the future prescription, because when somebody, as private people, started to build an individual solution, he should be in every third year monitoring. If it is based on a settlement level, it should be an outside monitoring in every 5th year. And in this latter case, so if the project affects all the settlement, then a professional operator should be contracted. In overall, I can say at this decision points, help is a professional help is needed in nearly every case, and even the settlements, even the population has a very high preference on sewers, even where it is not efficient to have a sewer. And some words about the main future plans. We should help the settlements for these 661 to find an appropriate and sustainable technical solution. It's a crucial question because a lot of money could be saved, not only at the investing of this individual or wastewater collecting solution, but later on in the operational phase. We should find a long-term financing solution for these small settlements. Now it is so that we plan the recovery and resilience facility to use for this purpose. But at the same time, for wastewater collecting system, we calculate with the next financing period green infrastructure or operating program. And these 600 and plus 200 settlements, all the investments will take a longer time than 7 years. So we look forward beyond 2028 also. And last but not least, the upgrading of the informatics system is very important. We should heighten the data quality and the scope of the monitoring data. We are in this field on our starting of our way, but we would like to more informative or our informatics system. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Gabriela, for guiding us through the Hungarian system. It's interesting to learn that this US system and this decentralized system treatment, but it's still the preferred option in these countries. So it may raise a question later on, and also learn that if I have a small weekend house in Hungary, which I had, that I should do something with the proper wastewater treatment, but it's something else we need to discuss maybe bilaterally. This leads me to the last presenter, who is Mr. George Constantin, who is the director of the Directorate for Water Resources and Management and the Ministry of Environment, Waters and Forests in Romania. We know each other with Mr. Constantin many years now around the ICPDA events. And I personally like his presentations because on one hand, he maintains and keeps a professional quality, but he's an entertaining character. And therefore I look forward to what kind of entertainment he can provide us today. Mr. Constantin Gheorghe, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Adam. Good afternoon, everybody. I am the last and I don't want to be boring. You know, I will try to use my 10 minutes very rapidly, to be a very short 10 minutes. My presentation is about challenges and solutions for rural wastewater management in Romania. Okay, I will start with challenges which have been already highlighted in the previous presentation. I will start with the last point in this slide, poor development of the water infrastructure in the rural area, because it was highlighted in the World Bank presentation. This is just because we inherited a very poor situation from 1989 during the previous period, political period, in which it was a policy to restrain the size of the localities in order to have more land for the agriculture, and it was not interest to build the infrastructure in the rural area. But on the other hand, we have important change in the population after 1989. Large part of the population with low income in the rural area. We have this decreasing trend of the population, aging in rural area, and it was an increase of agglomeration with less than 2,000 inhabitants, which lead to a large amount of this small agglomeration. Why? Because people leaving the locality decrease the population, decrease the inhabitants, and become smaller and smaller. Okay, this is the situation which we have in Romania. We have about 1,700 agglomeration between 2000 and 10,000, which is important because practically the directive, the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive, which we are striving to implement, is focusing on the agglomeration more than 2000, but we are also looking to the agglomeration below 2000. In some situations, these are in the better situation than others, and I will explain. Okay, this is the evolution. There is a trend, a decreasing trend in the population. Either it's urban or rural, which will create somehow, particularly in the rural, a problem for us in implementing the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive. It was already shown the situation in Michel's presentation from the European Commission about the practically the expenditure with water and sewage in a household. And you see Romania has let's say the most difficult situation in this case, where these costs for the water represent very much in the bill of the household. Also, population with risk poverty, particularly in the rural area. These are, you know, challenges which we want to face. And you could see there are in the rural area, the density of the population, the density of the household is quite small, which means that in order to implement projects with wastewater and water infrastructure, they will have an important cost. But what we have in order to overcome this situation, we have a policy for regionalization, including urban and rural area, individual appropriate system, which is, I can say, as a policy is quite new for us. We have financial support for water supply and sanitation, and what is very new in the in Romania, it's this alternative intelligent public system for wastewater treatment. Okay, if we speak about the regionalization, it was a policy of stick and carrots for the region, for the operators, water and wastewater operators in Romania. They were created in order to have an improved technical capacity, improved financial capacity, improved lending capability, and also to improve investment planning. It was practically created because of necessity to use the EU money. Practically, the European Union said that they will not give hundreds of millions to the operator in the small community, which has no capacity to implement such big and then to operate such big projects. Also, they were created for optimization of the available resources, particularly in connection between urban and rural area, in which that we are asking them, okay, you will take money from the EU, you'll improve the infrastructure, but you'll not have only the meat, you'll have also the bone, because in the rural area will be a larger cost, and practically we'll have this regional system in order to comply with our commitment in the taken at the European integration phase. Also, they have the capacity to operate this new and very important system, and not the last tariff leverage around the region, because, you know, in the smaller rural area system, the cost of maintaining, of operating will be higher than in the urban. Practically, it's a kind of leverage between urban or cross-subsidized between urban and rural. Okay, we had before around 400 operators at the county level, and then after in 2000 we have 42. Now these are the area operated by these regional operators. You could see that there are also parts in the Romanian map with gray. Gray is not covered by the regional operators or by others operators, which means that we will have to look here, because they will not only operate, but they are implementing the project for local authorities, which is in charge with the water and wastewater infrastructure, water and wastewater services. Okay, Practically, the regional operators are very important for us in complying with the requirements of the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive. Most of the countries are operated by this, and the number of the population are served by these regional operators. And just because I want to show this example of Bucharest, what is practically with blue, it's the Bucharest, and then the agglomeration Bucharest, you see it's with green, will go very much beyond the Bucharest city, practically connecting many rural areas. In this case, this is the situation where the rural areas close to the Bucharest, they are not in the worst situation. Generally, in this area, many people from the Bucharest with the financial possibility moved and built houses outside the Bucharest. And just I want to explain that due to this movement appear very small agglomeration with less than 2,000 inhabitant equivalent, but in which the people have the possibility and want to have this sewage and water system and have the possibility to pay for such kind of services and infrastructure. Okay, related to individual appropriate systems, this practically is the situation which we have in Romania. With the known individual system, in which practically is very low level, very low, and the European Commission already highlighted to us this situation. It's clearly that we do not have the entire information and do not have a proper system to make an inventory of all this individual appropriate system. But on the other hand, I want to tell you that in order to meet the European standard with such system, you have to prove that they will have the same level of treatment like the, like the sewage and wastewater treatment plants. And as an example, I can give you the requirements of the European Commission to provide for each individual appropriate system the contract they have with this with the transport vacuum truck transport company, and also the company contract with the wastewater treatment plant. The European Commission consider if you have such kind of system in which the water is collected and is transported to a wastewater treatment plant, it's exactly like the same level of treatment like for this sewage and wastewater treatment plant. But you know, this system, and I have my own experience, is 3 times more expensive than this this sewerage system, because it's not just to build. Just to build, you pay once for the building, but you have to operate. You have to pay every time, every month, for the truck to come and to take your wastewater and then go to the wastewater treatment plant with the wastewater. Therefore, I think that when we decide, and because we have to plan for the implementation of the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive, which part of agglomeration or which agglomeration will be served by collective system, by sewer, and which part will be served through the individual appropriate system, we have to be equitable in a way that practically we decide that somebody will do not benefit from the public service, which will be cheaper, and they will have to spend money for their own, and then to pay every time more than those which are connecting to the individual appropriate system for the wastewater. There are also proposals to have this system in which we will use the percolation, which the wastewater will not be transported to the wastewater treatment plant, but there are different systems in which the water which is collected is discharged on the soil. And I've seen here questions from the participants about this situation. Yes, we are not in favor of this system. I am from the water management system, because we will have to prove to the European Commission that such kind of system will provide the same level of treatment as from the centralized system. And it's very difficult. We do not have capacity to go to every individual appropriate system to check every time when they are discharging if the water discharged is the same with the water from the wastewater treatment plant. I've seen in the presentation of Austria this idea about the external monitoring. Yes, external monitoring we thought about, but if we'll put this condition, will become very expensive. Also, there are other systems in which we are facing the same problem, that will be difficult for us to prove in our reporting that they will do the same level of treatment. This is the main issue, and we have asked, okay, if will be, and I've seen here questions, if the European Commission will provide us with what kind of, let's say, requirements, what kind of requirements they have in order for us to prove that this individual system are at the same level of treatment with the collective system. With agglomeration less than 2,000, they increase, as I said, practically we started in 2007 with about 500,000 of people, and now we have about 3 million, because it was scattered around the country. Practically a lot of agglomeration which were above 2,000 in 2007 becomes in after 2000 with less and less population, because a lot of people also migrated in the western part of the European Union. And there are in this system, in this agglomeration, we have centralized treatment system, collection by EASE and treatment by EASE, but also local individual system. Practically, it's a kind of diffuse pollution. Now we have this new approach, you know, in Romania, alternative intelligent public system for wastewater treatment. And through this, I will answer a question which has been put about the possibility to have to this individual connected more than one household. And this is the idea, is practically to have not collective individual appropriate system, which means to have this basin, collection basin, put it on the public domain, practically on the streets, underground, and then to collect from 7, 10, or 20 houses. The advantage is that this kind of system could be financed by the local authorities and also operate by the local authorities. In my opinion, in order to be equitable, the local authorities somehow should support a part of this, of the cost for operation and maintenance of this system. And practically they will use either their own operator or a regional operator, and I said could be supported by the local government. Okay, also because I said one important issue which was highlighted, it's about the possibility to want to connect and to support the cost for being connected to the drinking water supply system and wastewater supply system. And we made change in legislation in order to support the poorest family. Practically, we are granting monthly aid from the local budget for families which are below average monthly net income, comparing with the minimum gross wage in the country. and practically it's about 75 liter per day per person, which could be supported from the local budget. And this will be one, to encourage people to connect, because this was a problem, and it is a problem in Romania to connect. There are costs to connect, and also will be for the operators in order to increase the cash flow and to avoid the situation in which they accumulate debts from the population. Related to the way forward for the rural wastewater treatment in Romania, we'll continue to implement regional project for urban wastewater treatment, collection and treatment in the agglomeration with more than 2,000 inhabitants. We have to prioritize the project based on the environmental impact and effectiveness. And here I want to say that we expect that some localities, I will not say agglomeration, will disappear in 10 or 15 years, because we have, I say, only the old people living there, and there is no young, and we consider that it's not efficient to put money in something which never will use. Also, we provide financial support for the urban wastewater treatment in rural areas to encourage innovative and cost-efficient solution for agglomeration with less than 2,000, and to change the legislation in order to stimulate connection to sewerage in the rural area. These are very important. We will look also, and for us this seminar is very important. I was somehow wondering, because I've seen the example from Austria with this natural solution, or this green solution, wastewater treatment in the mountain area. We practically rejected, because we said, as it was from Hungary, when we have -10 below, this natural solution will not be efficient. But on the other hand, we are open, and we want to see also the legal solution for improving, and the technical solution. And this is all from my side. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to questions.
Thank you, George. The informative presentation as we expected from you, so it was really a wonderful presentation. We are a bit running out of time, but I would like to still spend some time for questions. One question is very interesting, from Serbia goes to Romania. Why do you take the water to the treatment plant if you have an IAS, as it provides the same level of treatment as a big plant? Or the problem is not the solution, but the requirement of the EU bureaucracy? It's a bit provoking question, but maybe George, you can respond.
Okay. Yeah, it's not about European bureaucracy. It's about this European directive, which it's asking, and we joined the European Union. You know, it's a club in which they have rules. This is a rule which we cleared from the beginning. It's, you know, practically, on the other hand, not just because of the European directive, but if you allow everybody to discharge on the soil, to go in the groundwater, not knowing if it's treated, what this water has inside. And I will tell you that the domestic water has a lot inside, from detergents, from the medicines and everything, and will reach the groundwater, practically, which is the difference with this IAS and without IAS, with pit latrine, which is a difference. We are afraid, and we want to protect the groundwater because it's a strategic water resource for us.
There's another question also to you, but from me. You showed the map of Bucharest. When we saw the core area of the city where the sewer system is there, it was the blue lines. But if we enlarge it with the agglomeration, there was nothing showing by sewer systems. So what will happen with those surrounding agglomerations around Bucharest?
Yeah, they will be introduced in the Bucharest agglomeration. Practically, we have a project with the World Bank in which we redefined the agglomeration, and this was the proposal of the World Bank based on the definition of the agglomeration from the directive, where is the sufficient concentrated area with the population. Practically is the agglomeration. It was a big discussion in Romania, particularly with the people from the counties which is around Bucharest, which they somehow wants to be separate, but on the other hand, yeah, could have an agglomeration with not only one wastewater treatment plant and with not only one operator. This was the discussion during this project, but based on the definition from the directives, this is the agglomeration which practically will be defined applying the definition.
Okay. There's an interesting question from Richard Johnston, and maybe it could be interesting for all of you. Are there examples in the region of public health inspectors making random checks of septic tanks or other decentralized systems?
Yeah, I can tell you that in Romania, they are saying they are not dealing with the wastewater, only with drinking water in the health inspectorate.
Okay. Something in Hungary or Austria on this? No?
No, in Hungary also similar as in Romania.
Okay.
And in Austria, I just don't know.
Okay. A question to Heidi. You mentioned the necessity of financial support. What is how is subsidized or supported in Austria these kind of decentralized systems or individual solutions? And do you have any sort of like advisory services like in agriculture, when you have an established system, how to share the information, how to pass the knowledge to those which are interested in?
Well, we have subsidies in place on the federal level and on the Länder level.
Mm-hmm.
And on the federal level, I have posted it. It is 1,400 euro up to 4 PE. And then 150 euro for any additional PE. This is for individual wastewater treatment plants smaller than 50 PE. And the federal subsidies are kept with 30% of the investment costs. In addition, the Länder also have subsidies. So this is also already a great help. And the second part of the question was
the sort of advisory services or information exchange or whatever. Yeah.
Well, as the permitting is done by the regional authorities, the first step would be to ask them. But most Länder also have guidelines helping individuals with the IAS. And the guidelines were developed because you cannot, we have seen there are 30,000 or more small wastewater treatment plants. It needs a lot of personnel to help these people individually. What cannot be done on an administration level is to share experience with good or not so good producers. So commonly, such firms that sell small wastewater treatment plants, they also help people choose a system and tell them how to install the small wastewater treatment plant for them. But there are differences. Some of them produce really well-working small wastewater treatment plants, others don't. And that is why generally I think that type testing is a wonderful thing. Mm-hmm. Because how can a person like my mother know how which one is the best system? Perhaps she will choose the cheapest one, then have invested her money, and afterwards the authority may tell her that her system is not working well. This is something to avoid.
That's an interesting point, I have to admit. Thank you. Another question to Hungary, just to make everyone contributing to discussion. Gabriela, you showed that some of the agglomerations below 2,000, you are still in a planning phase, or even you don't know yet how to do because it's just premature. But what is your intention to do? So which direction you want to go to extend the sewer network, or you promote more the other decentralized systems or nature-based solutions? What would be the solution or the recommendation coming from the government?
Based on the scope of these other environmental analysis, what I mentioned at the technical solution. So if there is a karstic area, or if there is a sensitive area, and so on, the vast amount of these settlements will get a wastewater collecting system. So it is just contradictory. So we will find the places where not a collecting system is needed. That will be in the end. That will be the end of this analysis.
Okay. Thank you.
There are a lot of environmental conditions which make a very straight way at the decision.
Okay. I have a last question, maybe for all of you. Unfortunately, Miha Sponar already left us, but maybe since you are all EU country and the revision is now ongoing, and what would you recommend to Michael in terms of small agglomerations or IAS or both? So what should the Commission promote, and what is your expectations in this direction? You can be very free now because Michel left us.
It's difficult for us to advise the European Commission. They know better.
No, it's not advice. It's not advice. We were also, it's just how you feel. What is your recommendation?
From my perspective, we are striving with agglomeration more than 2,000, but not just avoiding where there are pressure in some parts for agglomeration less than 2,000 in Romania. But this is, I've seen a question, and it's a question for you, organizer on the World Bank. What means rural area? Because I said in Romania, near the city, it used to be a rural area, even where I'm staying. When I came 15 years ago, I have a neighbor with a cow, and I used to take the milk. Now nobody is no crops. Everybody land is sold for the houses and this. Yeah, this will be, the most important will be to look on the affordability. It's something which we didn't discuss during the negotiation for the. But allow me 1 minute to answer I think because I've seen some question here with this. This was a rural area from Danka Talmeineirova. It was about cross subsidies. I'm lazy to type, and I want to give the answer. And the answer is cross subsidized is the solidarity principle in our case in Romania, because it doesn't matter in the city or in the rural area. If we'll have to pay infringement, will be for the entire country. Yeah, and this is okay, and this with most, and I have with this PES scheme, this is not considered in this moment related to the water treatment plant. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I made a mistake. Nella Rosenstock is still here from the Commission, so be careful what you say. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. I was first. I checked if it's somebody.
Yeah, you are a clever guy.
Nele, yeah, I've seen Nele from the beginning.
Yeah, you didn't start the business yesterday, right, George?
Yeah.
Heide or Gabriela, do you have anything to add to nice or kind recommendations to our Commission?
Well, in my opinion, I have shown, we talk about a huge number of plants, but the pollution treated is relatively low as compared to the bigger plants. So I would expect that the EU outlines some basic principles on how to deal with wastewater management in rural areas. And we have seen in Michel's presentation that maybe they will lower the lower limit of the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive to 1,000, which in my opinion would be okay. But I think that for the EU level, it would go too far to dig into all the details of small wastewater treatment plants. Let's talk about 100 or 50 PE.
Yeah.
And in this case, I wouldn't see the European problem or the European interest in that.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have the Water Framework Directive that also already gives us incentives or obligations to act in rural wastewater management where necessary.
True. Okay, Gabriela, if you have something to say, then it's still the...
Okay, thank you. So my thoughts are the next, that the pollution, the overall pollution is low, that we can say. So in a country level, from these small settlements, and we should take into consideration that the specific costs for one PA are much higher than in the bigger categories. So we are speaking about a very costly business, and we should see where the real places are important, and differentiate and make difference between the places where we invest this big amount of money, which is now only on the horizon and not in our pockets. Thank you.
Okay. I would love to continue the discussion with you and the audience, but we are completely out of the time. Therefore, I think now we stop the discussion. I thank all the presenters for the great contribution and also the questions to the audience. Also my co-moderator Raimund to help me to moderate these two sessions. I think it was a really good day. I learned a lot, particularly from the presenters, but also the questions are very interesting. And I think some of the questions still can be clarified tomorrow, where more the technical aspects will be discussed. And this leads me to the last information, I guess, and yeah, exactly, that we will have tomorrow another session, two sessions with content, and we will start 1:30. Unfortunately, I saw the question that we can start earlier or late earlier, but I think we can't because it's already agreed, so we cannot really modify the timetable. So we will skip to the announced timetable, and we will start tomorrow morning at 1:30 with session 3, good practices at municipal level. Then we will continue with session 4, technical solutions and developments in rural wastewater management. And then we will collect the most important messages, and probably we will just give you some conclusions and messages. All the presentations will be available, I guess, after the workshop. So you can find this information, you can download them, and also we will develop a sort of question and answers session for you. That was it from my side. I thank you very much for your participation, for active participation. I liked it very much. Of course, physical meeting would be much better, but this is what we have for the time being. And let's hope that the next event in these workshop series could be organized physically, or the third one. We will see. But this was for today. Raimund, do you want to add something?
Nothing to add. Thank you a lot, Adam, and thanks to all the participants and speakers. And I think we don't want to prolong it any further today. Wishing everybody a nice afternoon and evening, and to see hopefully everybody back healthy and with fresh energy tomorrow. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Raimund, and then see you guys tomorrow at 1:30. We hope that you will join us also tomorrow. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.